seen this. Okay, then we won't say it no. I know. Yes.
So you don't want to play the video?
Of the Star Spangled Banner was on. The most beautiful edition you've ever heard. Our thing is. Next level band. Yeah, playing women playing one instrument. I would click on that. Yeah, for the president.
You know all the right things? There are so many numbers between 3 and 5.
Back in a moment. It is. That's your traffic. I'm Captain Carl on 1031 The Vulcan. Bring my yacht here to the tier my. Since my butts molded to fit it, but I'm ready for a new one from eBay Motors with all the right parts. Let's rock. It's a Premier Topping Show. What's the first call you should make after a motorcycle accident? 1-800-LAW-TITLES. Insurance company wants to get away with paying out the lowest settlement they can. The law.
Hello everyone and welcome. I was recently given a collection of cast iron cookware. Now I use cast iron cookware on a regular basis, but I don't have like a Dutch oven and things like that. Now the reason why I was putting on gloves is that I actually left this stuff out in the sun while I was getting stuff ready and got distracted by something else. And today it's 100 degrees outside, so when I left this out in the sun I can't really handle it with my bare hands. So in the collection there's a Dutch oven with lid. I've got a griddle, and like I said, it's also unmarked, or it may be marked. I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's a lot of crud around it. Then I've got a, what I believe is a 4-inch Wagnerware skillet. Then I've got another one that is unmarked, which I believe is a 6-inch skillet. Then I've got a pan here to make corn muffins with, and it is also unmarked. Now I'm going to take each one of these pieces, I'm going to strip it down, get the rust off of it, and re-season it, and then use each piece in different videos. Now before I get into starting to strip all these down, there are people out there who will tell you to use easy off and, you know, light, this, that, and the other. I look at using stuff like that on cookware like this. If it's not something I can eat, I don't want to put it in a piece of cookware that I'm going to use to cook with. That's just my thoughts on it. So I'm going to use just a drill and like a wire wheel to strip this off and then clean the rust out of it. Now on these smaller pieces, I might take and put them in the fire. Again, the jury is out on whether or not you can use the fire method to remove the seasoning on cast iron. Some people say it'll warp it, some people say it won't, but I'm going to try it out on these pieces because I literally have nothing to lose on them. So with that out of the way, I'm going to start stripping the Dutch oven and lid first, and then go through each and every one of these and strip them down, then use them in different videos. All right, so I got my gloves and my dust mask on. I'm ready to get started. So here's where I'm at. I've got about half of one side done. And in cleaning, I found a spot right here that looks like a splash or something along that line when this was poured, or an imperfection in the sand mold, just judging by the texture of the lid itself, which leads me to believe that this is a fairly old piece, probably shortly after the turn of the century, give or take. But that's just my guess at this point. I've only got half the lid done, so continue on. All right, so I got the Dutch oven stripped down, and as you can see, I've already started to get rust on it, and I literally just got through cleaning this out about an hour ago. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a coat of grease on it. Now, before you put your first coat of grease on there, you need to go ahead and heat these up. And I've just been letting this one sit out in the sun, and it is 111 degrees, 112. So I believe that's hot enough to go ahead and get this grease on there. For my grease, I'm just going to use some bacon grease. And as you can see, when it touches this hot pan, it immediately goes to melting. So I know that it's going to be warm enough, and I'm just going to take and rub all this in real good, using my hand to start with. Then I'll use a paper towel to do the rest of it. Make sure I get a good coat on it. But that is, like I said, the key to starting off a good season is to make sure that your pot or pan is warm or hot before you start applying any kind of grease to it, so that it kind of opens up the pores in the metal, if you will. Now I'm just going to take a paper towel and kind of wipe out some of the excess. Make sure that it gets good and coated as I'm doing it. As I was cleaning these, I wasn't trying to get them down to completely white metal. I wanted to leave some of the older stuff on there. And the reason for that is, like areas like this, you can see when this pot was made, they took an angle grinder to it to clean up all the flashing around, like the spout and right here. And then all along the edges right here, you can see where they hit it with an angle grinder. And another thing that's kind of helping me to age this piece, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but this handle is actually bent over and then looks like it was welded or forged into the other side right here. Like originally it was straight up, and then when it came out of the foundry or whatever, they bent it over and then hammered it in place. And another thing that helps kind of age this piece is the inside of the lid is real rough, and I don't mean like the texture of it's rough, but the actual casting is, and you can see where there's air pockets, or were air pockets in there when this was actually poured. So here's a look inside the Dutch oven, and I've already added a coat of oil to it, but you can see how smooth the inside of this is, and that just goes to show you the craftsmanship back then versus the craftsmanship today. So I got my Dutch oven all oiled up, and I'm going to let this sit and kind of soak in for a little bit. And while that is actually sitting, I'm going to take and make me a bail handle that will run from this handle to this handle so that I can actually hang this up like a Dutch oven. So this is the handle that I made to fit on this Dutch oven, and I don't want to affix it permanently. So now that I've got my handle on and I've got my Dutch oven stripped and my coat of oil on, I'm ready to season this. And because it's 100 degrees outside, I don't feel like heating up the inside of the house, so I'm just going to build a low fire in my fire pit and season it outside. All right, so I'm going to consider the pot to be seasoned. Now I can do my lid. So here's the oven after I've removed it from the heat, and as you can see, it is just super smooth. I couldn't be happier with how that turned out. All right, so I got my lid seasoned, and again, it turned out real smooth as well. Again, this goes back to the craftsmanship back in the day as opposed to today, but everything's automated. Now that I've got my Dutch oven seasoned, I got my handle made and everything's fully assembled, and I got it how I want it, I'm going to use it to cook dinner. And because it's so hot outside, I don't want to heat up the house inside. I'm going to take and cook everything in the Dutch oven outside. All right, so I got my Dutch oven up to temp. Now I'm fixing to add a little bit of oil in there, and then add the chicken. Like it slides around in there real good, that's for sure. Now this particular Dutch oven isn't meant to be set directly in the coals. This is, like I said, an indirect or direct heat rather than covering it up with coals. Get a good sear on both sides. Now that I've got a good sear on both sides, I'm going to take it off the heat, move my coals to one side, and then put the Dutch oven back on. Now I'm going to leave it for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and check on it. I can't get over how non-stick this old Dutch oven is, even with something as lean as chicken. But my chicken looks like it's done, so I'm going to go ahead and take it off. And I'm going to take my Dutch oven off the heat. To clean out my Dutch oven after I used it, I just got some soapy water. It cleaned up really easy, and now I'm going to take and rinse the soap suds out of it and then let it dry. I'm real happy with how this Dutch oven turned out after stripping off all the old seasoning, cleaning off all the rust, and then turn around and re-seasoning it. It was well worth the effort. And I used a drill and a wire wheel, and it took me like an hour and a half to completely strip off the old seasoning and clean the rust out. In doing research trying to find the manufacturer of this particular Dutch oven, and this is a Dutch oven for those of you who didn't know, a lot of people think the ones that have the legs on them and the ring around the top that you actually cover with coals and then put the coals on top is a Dutch oven. That's not, that's actually a camp oven. I believe that the manufacturer of this was Birmingham Stove and Range, which would make sense because Birmingham's just a few miles down the road here. But one of the things that led me to that conclusion was the ears that cover up the spout. Not many Dutch oven manufacturers had the ears on the lid to cover up the spout. So, and from what I was able to tell, the date on this is around the 1930s, somewhere around in there. And that's just, you know, best guess given the information that I could find on it. If you know different, please let me know. A lot of people place collectible value on their cast iron. And you know, they say if you restore it, it messes it up. It doesn't mess it up, whatever. I myself don't really care about the monetary value of the Dutch oven. I just wanted to know who manufactured it and when it was manufactured. Because this is such a well-made piece, it'll serve me for, you know, years to come. So this is one piece out of the 4 that I received done, and I used a drill and wire wheel to do this one. I think on the next one I might try vinegar and a Scotch-Brite, and then try fire on one, try various different methods of cleaning them to see which one works best. So thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all next time.